Okay, it looks like it is going. There we go. Okay, I just had my OBS system update, so pretty sure we're streaming. If we are, yay. Give me 1 second. Hey guys, what's up? It's FalseBulls123. Welcome back to my channel. Now, this is my second month of doing a wrap-up as a live stream and me fiddling around with the camera, which we do not love. But let's actually get into it. Now, I didn't get much reading done in September. It was just a long, kind of difficult month. I literally dropped my phone in a sink and had to get it replaced. It was so shitty. Also, I tried to read Tom Clancy, and that took a lot of time. And I'm only 50 pages in, so expect me to mention A Hunt for Red October in, I don't know, 2023? Who the fuck knows? Anyway, I am living for this plaid button-up, so let's talk about books or some shit, okay? Also, guys, I heard that they have a new White Claw flavor, and somebody needs to find that for me. I'm just saying, okay, like, where the fuck is it? Why isn't it in my mouth hole? So, the first books that I read of spacing out, the first books I read this month was Moz, Book 1 and 2 by Aer Spiegelman. And I actually want to give you guys some context about those books before we get into the review. The Silver Age of comics refers to a period between the 1950s and 1970s that began with the adoption of the Comics Code Authority, a moral watchdog group that acted similarly to the Hays Code, including restrictions on sex and violence, and the gays, and, you know, women enjoying themselves, like all the good, fun shit. This produced mainstream comics that were very toned down compared to the Golden Age. Think Archie or Adams West's portrayal of Batman, as opposed to Spirit or Sin City. It also led to the rise of the underground comics movement, which was a counterculture in the comic world that used alternative distribution practices, kind of like Zines did. So, in 1971, Stan Lee convinced Marvel to run a story arc on Spider-Man that was not approved by the Comics Code Authority. Can never remember the name. And while it's not the only thing that happened in the 70s that brought the rise of the Bronze Age, it was one of the inciting incidences. Up here, the Bronze Age... I'm sorry, guys. I cannot talk today. It is just such a fucking mood. The Bronze Age, as a period, focused on more mature and psychologically driven works. Think Alan Moore's Watchmen and The Killing Joke, Neil Gaiman's Sandman series, and comic veteran Will Eisner, who created what is considered one of the first graphic novels, called A Contract with God. The reason why I mention all this is that I wanted to give you some perspective of what the genre was like when Moz was published. Spiegelman was a member of the underground comics movement, and along with Eisner, helped define the graphic novel with his serialized comic that was later published in 2 volumes, Moz, A Survivor's Tale. I'm just going to show you them again because look at that beautiful artwork. Now, enough context, let's get into the good stuff. Moz is the biography of Spiegelman's father, who was a Holocaust survivor, and it follows his perspective from the beginnings of the Nazi occupation to the end of World War II. The book also uses postmodernist literary techniques by presenting these flashbacks within a framed narrative of Spiegelman interviewing his father and writing the novel. In a sense, the books is just as much about Spiegelman as they are about his father. Another key aspect of the work is Spiegelman's use of metaphor when it comes to race. Jews are presented as mice, where the Germans are cats, Poles are pigs, etc., etc. And I would like to quote Wikipedia for a second since it explains the theme much more succinctly than I ever could. Here we go. This literalization of the genocidal stereotypes that drove the Nazis to their final solution may risk reinforcing racist labels, but Spiegelman uses the idea to create anonymity for the characters. According to art historian Andrea List, this may paradoxically enable the reader to identify with the characters as human, preventing the reader from observing racial characteristics based on facial traits, while reminding readers that racist classification is ever present. In making people of each ethnicity look alike, Spiegelman hoped to show the absurdity of dividing people along such lines. Spiegelman has said that these metaphors are meant to self-destruct and reveal the inanity of the notion itself. End quote. Whenever I read a culturally important work, I find it a bit daunting to review it. It feels cheap, and what can I say as some schmuck that an academic in, I don't know, Harvard or Yale hasn't stated a million times better with, and also citing like Hegel or Coates or somebody like that. So, if the work sounds interesting to you, or if you're one of the people that's like, comics are like for babies and dumb people, then I do suggest that you pick up this work. Now, moving on to something a little less serious than literal genocide, it is I Was Told There Would Be Cake by Sloane Crosley. Give me a second. Crosley is a humorous essayist, and if you remember that I'm a big old fan of Pat McManus, I'm into that shit. While Crosley is not immediately added to my hall of fame of super funny women, which includes the like of Amy Poehler, Tig Notaro, Carmen Exposito, and Hatian Tran, I did find her work pretty fucking funny. I think she has a good sense of humor. I like that it can be a little deadpan and a little whimsical at times. And I think that she has a good understanding of, I guess, societal, what's it called, observational humor. Mundane situations that are humorous through the telling of it, which is really what most modern stand-up humor is these days. That being said, I do find some of the pacing of the book to be a bit off. Some of the stories were really short and not as impactful. And one story, You Want a Stick, was a behemoth of a short story. I mean, I thought The Birds was long. Ooh, honey. Bitch, we don't know her. There's also the line about baby pink plaid that they had to wear as a bridesmaid outfit. And my eyes melted a little reading that. But then I looked it up, and it's honestly not my style because pink washes me out really badly. But, like, actually kind of cute. You know what I mean? I guess it really depends on, like, what type of plaid you're going for. Anyway. Excuse me. Basically, I liked the book. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely decent and a light read. 3 out of 5 stars or something. Let's get on to the last book, and I'm kind of amazed just how quickly this like video is going because I never release a short video, so my lack of reading has made me actually have manageable content. Imagine that. I love how the can is matching my hair. That's cute. Anyway. So the last book I read this month, so I'm just scrolling back up for my script, is Eaters of the Dead by Michael Crichton. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Eaters of the Dead was written like all great works of literature as a bet, because one of Crichton's friends was like, Beowolf is so fucking boring, and it's for boring people. And I would literally make a class called Boring Classics and make it the first book you read. And Crichton was like, you just don't understand cool shit. So basically Crichton was like, I'm going to rewrite it and make it interesting and just show you that you've just been reading boring translations of it, like that one really dry version of Arabian Nights, according to the beginning of my copy of Arabian Nights. Anyway, similar to House of Leaves, which one of these days I will finish. See, there's still a bookmark in it. Hopefully you can see that in the background. Eaters of the Dead is a pseudo-document that tells the story of Beowolf from the perspective of Ibn Fadlan. Ibn Fadlan? I actually don't know how his name is pronounced because I've literally never said it aloud to this very second. Anyway, he was a contemporary traveler from the Middle East who was also a real person, which is super cool. Interestingly enough, the first 3 chapters are based on his writings, and the rest is essentially an adaptation of Beowulf, so, bitchin'. Anyway, the book is presented as a scholastic text, and Crichton wrote it to mimic the style of other academic works. It actually reminded me of my copies of the Canterbury Tales and the Divine Comedy, so Crichton actually did a really bang-up job in that regards. I think Crichton has a history as an academic, and so he actually really good at sort of implying or presenting that sort of scholastic literary style. As the prose goes, I actually really enjoyed the book. It has some great action moments, the world building was great, you really got a sense of the character, and it also really read like an old or Middle English story. And it was, but at the same time, it was very distinctly Crichton. And I think that provided a lot of range to his canon. I'm a big fan of his work. I've read a good portion of his novels. And so I'm actually glad to read one of his novels that didn't necessarily fall into his more common tropes and common writing styles for his novel. You know what I mean? It was very unique to his process. Anyway, guys, I have things I want to do today. I know this was a short video, but I'm at the same time just trying to not put as much of a focus on my channel until I have the ability to really produce the range to provide the quality of content that I want. Like this, see, quality content. Anyway, so I'm going to let you guys go. Anyway, just remember, if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. That would be great. If you want to help me out, you can always like this video, and you can always tell me if you've read these books. Like, feel free to comment. I want to hear from you. You're all great. I love you to bits. And that's pretty much it. So, remember, wash your hands, tell your loved ones you love them, and live every single day trying to be a better and better person. This False Bulls 1 to 3, and you guessed it, I'm signing out. Now to figure out how to stop my recording devices. Oh, fuck's sake.